Hey guys, it's Black Gummy, and today I'm just gonna do like a vlog style, just talking about where I am with my art to like talking about games I've played recently that I thought was really fun and I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted like freestyle. I don't want to go into like a whole background and explanation of the history of the game. I just want to talk about my feelings on these games because they are part of my inspiration for my upcoming Atome game that I've been working on. And I also just wanted to show some of the work that I've been doing, but I didn't really finish anything yet. They're all kind of like in different stages of work in progress. And this is kind of how I actually work, where I finish things different at different times, but I also like work at stuff all at the same time. So I have a lot of different stuff I'm working on, and I just want to showcase that. But I also just want to, talk some shit, just have some fun talking about games that really have inspired me recently. So, first off, I wanted to show some of the art that I was doing for the Vogue Grace uh, art competition that they were having, but I didn't meet the deadline because I was doing a whole other thing with a grant, so I just didn't have time. But I really liked what I was doing, so I wanted to finish it. And I'm basically like playing around with like very vibrant colors. I'm trying to give everything a very plastic look. It is incredibly difficult because I've never really done that, but I this is a good like exercise for me to like play around with my like with backgrounds with different coloring styles and color schemes, um even just different materials, because even though I'm still on my iPad, I am using like watercolor brushes and like I think a little bit of like the dry uh pastels or something like that. So I am playing around with it, like technically different material, even though it's still like digital. So this is just like a fun exercise for me, but it is a very like detailed piece of work. I just don't have the time to really finish it, but I am enjoying it. And if I end up enjoying it a lot, I'll just turn it into a puzzle or something. Outside of that, I do want to talk about a game I was playing recently. Around this time, I was playing Touch Detective. I played Touch Detective 1 and 2, and I think 2 is probably my most favorite, even though you really can't play them out of order because you really wouldn't know what was going on and you wouldn't understand how certain characters play into each other. But the game was really fun to play. I played it on my 3DS, and it's very cute, but it has this very spooky vibe to it. It's a mystery game, so it's like puzzle based and it's like a point and click, which is kind of hard on the 3DS. I don't really necessarily like it, and I feel like if I had played it on the computer, I'd be more comfortable with it versus on the 3DS. Luckily, it doesn't do anything gimmicky or anything like that with the 3DS having, oh, it's in 3D or some nonsense. Like, it's a pretty straightforward game, and it's supposed to be simple. I say supposed to be because it actually can be quite annoying when you have to click on specific things at a specific point and you don't know what that point is. Or you might click on something, you know exactly what you need to do next, and then like it won't let you do that because you didn't talk to somebody. I find those little things annoying, but it's a part of that style of gaming, so I do kind of get it. Like, point and clicks are basically like that. But I really like this game. It's such a very simple and cute game. And I want to call her Madison so bad. Mackenzie is the main character of the game, where she's wearing like the the poofy hat, the beret, and then she has like her pet fungi or fungi, and I don't know what the fuck that thing is. Like, to be honest, I just ignore it. As long as it doesn't start talking, it's fine. Even though it makes sounds, I'm just still lost on that. But she's cute. Penelope is cute, which is like this orange haired girl who's just very ditzy, very out there, really. But she's always bringing in a new problem, a new case, a new thing to be afraid of. And you're just like, Mackenzie's just like, okay, but I bet it's not that serious. And it never is. The cases never go. At first, they're like, it's been a murder, or someone has been kidnapped, or something has been vandalized. Okay, the vandalized thing, yeah, that actually did happen. But those other things didn't really happen. And that's how it is for Touch Detective 1 and 2. I feel like Touch Detective 1 has a little bit of jank, but I can't even remember specifically. But I feel like Touch Detective 2 fixes any of the problems I had with Touch Detective 1. And it's a lot easier to maneuver. And I cannot figure out why that is. But I feel like in Touch Detective 1, I used to get stuck on like so many I would get stuck in corners. I would just get constantly caught in places that I didn't want to be. Maybe that's Touch Detective 2. Honestly, either way, I did feel like I had a general feeling of Touch Detective 2 being a lot easier to maneuver around. And it might have just been because I had gotten used to the puzzles at that point. Touch Detective 2 has a lot more episodes, which is what those different chapters, different plots are considered. And I like them. I think they're way more interesting than Touch Detective 1. And I think they played around a lot more with those themes and ideas. And it kind of made me realize how important having fun with your game can be, even when it doesn't really necessarily make sense or things don't flow one to one, which is something I struggle with a lot with mysteries. I feel like things should connect. I shouldn't be trying so hard to understand why these things happen. I should just get it. But I feel like with Touch Detective, they got me so involved and enamored in their world that I didn't really think that hard about why things are happening. Obviously, I question it a little bit. Sometimes it's silly, or if I get stuck on stuff, because I don't want to pretend like this game has moon logic, but it low-key feels like it has moon logic. I think that was the thing I had a lot of trouble with the first game. It was moon logic. There's so many times I was like, how was these two things connected? How was I supposed to know to go there? It's so annoying to me. But in Touch Detective 2, it's not as bad, or at least not as prominent as it was in the first game. But I swear this is why I was like, maybe it was me just getting better at the puzzles or something, because I'm not gonna pretend like I'm good at them. I like murder mystery or mystery games, but I am not good with puzzles, especially ones that involve too much numbers or too much talking. No, you got me looking at too many things at once. I just get very overwhelmed, and I'm like, I can barely process what's going on. But yeah, the game story was a lot more interesting in the second one, and I really had a good time, specifically with the 7th episode, I think, where they're in the haunted mansion. To stay in line with spooky month, because this is happening in October, or I'm recording this in October. I genuinely do feel like the 7th episode was probably the best episode. I liked it the most because it had so much more town lore, story lore. You got a little bit of a better perspective of how people view the town, who knows what. A lot of Touch Detective 2 involves you getting more engaged with the world around you, where in the first one I feel like you were getting introduced to everybody, every character, but the worlds didn't really matter that much. But in the second game, you get to see so many different parts of the town, and specifically at this haunted house, which has it's a fake haunted house, but with real ghosts pretending to be fake to prevent people from shutting down, demolishing the home, I guess. I don't know. That was stupid, but it was kind of funny at the same time. Okay, y'all pretending to be fake for no reason. All right. But walking around the property and looking at the haunted house setting, the greenhouse, I just really like the atmosphere of everything. It really does feel like, oh, this house on the outskirts of town that people visit if they want to get spooked and stuff, and you're not really even sure if this house has any historical value. It's just known as the haunted house, and it's only available or open when it's a certain season. And it's so interesting just talking to people around town about this house. People are just this house is so scary. I don't really like going there. It's really spooky, even though it's pretty fake, but it still has this weird energy here. If you talk to the fortune teller, she's like, oh no, that house is actually haunted. Like, it's legitimately haunted, but they just do these like simple tricks and stuff to convince people it's not actually haunted, which is okay. But I really really like this particular episode, mostly for the mystery, which is that there's this like living doll or something in the house, not in the house but in the greenhouse, and it can't sing anymore, and you have to figure out why it can't sing. And then you kind of learn a little bit of the backstory of the house and the town, and specifically the doll and like everyone's relationship to this doll. I mean, it's just, I don't want to go too far into it because I know that you can buy Touch Detective 1, 2, and I think they made a new one maybe. But there's like, you can buy it on the Nintendo Switch, and it's fun. Like, I would definitely say if you want to play like a very cozy kind of mystery game with easy or simple puzzles, you should play that. Like, I know that I said there's some moon logic in it, but I do generally feel like I am not good with puzzles, and therefore like it seems harder for me. But if you're used to puzzles and you want something simple and just fun and cute to look at for a while and just solve like these little cute mysteries, I would say Touch Detective is a great game for you. Mackenzie's adorable. She's hilarious. Like, literally the best character in the whole game, because she be questioning stuff all the time. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, she won't say it. She'll just think it in her head, and you'll see it at the top of the 3DS. I don't know how it will look on the Switch, but basically, like, you'll see her little inner thoughts. Like, she doesn't say everything she thinks, which is great because she needs to hold back sometimes, because like the stuff she's saying is kind of like, okay now. Like, dang, you really gonna talk about your friend like that? But yeah, I can really gush about this game for a while. I mean, I say that, but then at the same time, I didn't really want to make a full video on it, just because, like, although I like Touch Detective, I don't really like doing like video essays and stuff on anything. Like, when I made my art market video, I like that because I just read or got, like, there's certain like criteria that I hit to get the thing that I didn't have to research on. Like, if I look up the artists and stuff like that, that's one thing, but that wasn't really my priority. I was literally looking at the products themselves and reviewing it based off of like specific criteria that I explained in the video. That was fun for me. Writing essays and writing specifically scripts is such a drag. And yes, I did have something of a script to follow while I was doing the art market video, but I like making those videos. I don't like making essays. I don't like writing reports, and like, I just like I just like, say whatever I feel. Like, I want to say what I feel freely and without having to constrict myself, because I'm not trying to sell you on anything, and I'm not trying to really prove anything. Maybe one day I will like make something like a video essay or something if I feel strongly about a topic, but I just don't really enjoy it that much. I just don't enjoy making scripts for that reason. It's already difficult enough to make it for games, but at least with the game, it's not really my own thoughts. I'm just thinking of what the character is saying, versus with a script for YouTube, it's like I have to explain my thoughts and yada yada. I don't care that much. It's just off the top of my head, these are the things I'm thinking. It's no deeper than that. Okay, so with this project that I've been working on, only recently, I actually came up with this idea a few days ago, but I've been trying to get better at Blender and trying to make more 3D prints, because I do actually have a 3D printer. And I wanted to make these like popsicle sticks. Originally, I just wanted to make like these keychains of my Sweet Girl characters' heads in particular. But then I decided that a popsicle stick would be actually a lot more fun. I just haven't figured out the exact, like, how it's going to look, whether I'm going to paint the face or if I'm going to just like kind of outline it through Blender. And yeah, So that's basically what I'm working on, and you can kind of see a little bit of the work that I've done. Obviously, it's not complete, as most of the things in this video will not be complete or isn't complete currently. I don't want to say it won't ever be completed, but it's just not completed currently. But we will see. I will probably put like updates of these projects. Some of them will be through my YouTube channel, but a lot of them will be probably through my Ko-fi, specifically these Blender projects. If you want to see more of my Blender work, then you can just go to my Ko-fi. Anyways, in saying that, I have been trying to be more proactive about the things that I'm making and try to simplify the production of it. Basically, by making 3D models of things, it's a lot easier for me to get multiples of them. And especially when it comes to making products, my biggest problem is quantity and the cost of production. Not to say that 3D printing does not cost anything. It does cost money, but it costs a lot more money if I had to try to make this all in clay and then repeat the process over and over and over again. Like, it's just a lot harder on my hands. It's a lot more time consuming. I just want to simplify this a little bit because it is time consuming to create things. It is very time consuming, and I have to manage a lot of different parts of my business if I want to have a better chance of like being able to do certain things with my products or just as a business owner. And I'm trying to think creatively. I'm trying to think of all the resources I have and like try to play into that a lot more. I feel like I'm never really sure if what I'm doing and the time I'm putting into things actually really matter. I remember buying and printing out a lot of prints, and they just don't sell. Like, they don't sell at all. And it was just a real waste of my time to carry them around and try to, like, I didn't really have a good setup to keep the prints from like getting bent or like crumpled or anything like that. And honestly, it just started turning into a waste of my time, a waste of my resources or effort. And then it's also like a waste of my money to keep trying to put these prints out when I could put other products in. Obviously I like don't have that many products, but I'd rather have things more streamlined. I want to have smaller products, things that are easier to manage than what I have right now. Right now, I do just have keychains. I do want to have some smaller prints that are very easy to manage. I want to keep my products at a very low, like nothing too big, basically. I don't want anything too big. And I think that makes more sense for where I am right now, because I don't have a really good setup. I don't have like space for all these bigger projects and stuff. Like, there are other ideas I have, but they're gonna cost more. They're gonna need more to like get them set up and get people out there to get them. One of the things that I'm trying to sell or trying to push right now is those like t-shirts, the tote bag, all that off of my Printify shop. And it's because I can't really carry those products with me right now. Like, I can't have that in my home. I don't have the resources to make these things, but there is a website that can produce these things as long as I have the art for it. I feel like I have a lot of ideas, but I rarely ever have the resources to fulfill those ideas or manifest them into reality. And I feel like Printify is a good place for me to attempt to do those things, where I can make the design, but the way that the shirt comes out, the way that the products come out, aren't up to me, because I feel like if it was up to me, it wouldn't be as good, because I'm constantly splitting myself between so many projects. And I feel like that's just the danger and the risk of being an artist and then trying to be a small business owner at the same time, that you constantly get jumbled with so many roles, and it's hard to manage your time and like what you're making versus how you make them, like the actual process of making stuff, and then like the idea part are two different things, and they both need a lot of time to work out. So it's just it's just a lot. Basically, it's a lot, and I'm just trying to find new ways to make products that are easier to carry, especially when I go to art events, and easier to produce. So hopefully this works out. I haven't printed anything yet, but like I said, if I end up printing anything out, I'll show you guys on my coffee. I haven't really posted any of the pictures I have so far, but I will definitely do that if you guys are interested. But I might just do it anyways because I think it adds a little new flavor to my coffee where I can blend these things or make what do you call it, 3D models. Why am I struggling with words? I can make 3D models of the work I'm doing. And if you guys like this enough, I might actually just make whole videos of me 3D modeling. I just don't do it that often because I never know what I'm doing, and this is like one of the rare times I have a better idea of what I'm trying to accomplish that doesn't end with me in tears. Except for that one time, like yesterday, where I was modeling and my screen went black for like legitimately no reason, and I gasped so loud, and my partner just laughed at me like it was funny, even though I was having an existential crisis for half a second because I thought it was over. Like I had literally just finished modeling and I didn't have time to move my mouse up to save or even press the keyboard. Like I couldn't. I was like about to be incredibly devastated. I still don't know why my monitor turned black. It doesn't really do that often, so I have no idea what that was about. But yeah, Blender had me. They really had me for a bit. Okay, so now I want to talk about Darkside Detective because I don't want to ramble on too much and like kind of repeat myself when it comes to things. I do that in real life all the time, so like when I'm free falling conversations like this, I have to be a little bit more attentive to that. But anyways, Darkside Detective, one of my favorite games, like literally one of my favorites. For some reason, the first game that I played was the second game in the series. I never do that. I am always so careful not to do that, and for some reason I ended up doing that in this situation. Don't know how that happened, but either way, first game that I ever played was the second game, and the second game is a banger. It is very funny. I really like the humor of like Darkside Detective. Can I remember anyone's name or tell you specifics? No. I feel like this is one of those games where it's just like you're experiencing things. Things are hitting you all the time because there's like a joke every 2 seconds, and you're just enjoying the vibes. Like I know that's how like Touch Detective kind of was, but Darkside Detective is like very much vibes heavy. Like the world is just zany, like legitimately just zany, and I don't really know how else to describe it. I guess the best way to put it is maybe like millennial humor or something like that. But I feel like I don't usually relate to millennial humor. I'm like on the later spectrum, so I don't want to say it's totally that, but like I think it kind of is. Either way, it's not really a dig or anything. I actually really like this game. I think it's very funny. I like the humor. I like the characters. Like everyone just is so interesting in their own way, but no one really makes sense. It's very similar to like Frog Detective in a way. Like very similar vibes if you ever played that. But Darkside Detective specifically is about like supernatural things. And one thing I love is investigative horror. I love like supernatural elements to any story just as much as I love fantasy, but Darkside Detective really tries to play the line of like supernatural to like horror. It's very much like that Scully and X-Files. That's it. X-Files. Yeah, I got it. It's very much like X-Files if both the like Scully and other guy character were both incompetent, or one was 10 times dumber than the other, and then there was only one competent person, but he was still like kind of unhinged. That's probably the best way to describe this game. Probably. Anyways, the game is funny. I know that like in the recording that you're seeing, there's no Dooley. Like you're looking for Dooley, which is the not as smart detective. And there's another girl, like, I think her name is Roxa or Roxanne or something. But she's kind of like important. Like she when I first originally played this game, I did not know who she was. But when I played the first game over, she is important. Like, she is a recurring character, and in this case, she's just a fill-in for Dooley, but he will reappear after this case is over. So there's like a bunch of cases that you solve, and they're all different. And our main detective, he's like an actual detective, like he works for the police department, but he goes around kind of like solving really weird cases and not like the normal ones, so people don't really treat him that well. Even though I think he's a nice guy, he's just used to weird stuff, so he does come across a bit odd. But that's not fair, because the whole world is odd. Like, everyone's so weird, but they always find time to like kind of shit on him or whatever. It's so weird. But I like McQueen and Dooley. Okay, I see it now. It's McQueen. I got it. I'm sure I will remember this in the future. I can remember what he looks like. I just can't remember his name. But like, McQueen and Dooley, they're like the best friends. Like, they are great. They're like, their back and forths are so funny, and that's what made me enjoy the first game so much, because it was most of them. So when I came into the second game and remembering again that like he's not even in the first episode, I was kind of like, yeah, nothing really beats their back and forth. Like, I like Roxa or whatever her name is, but like the other, Dooley and McQueen got a thing, and like nothing can replace that. And I also kind of like how sweet it is that McQueen is going through so much effort to find Dooley, and I don't think Dooley really cares that much. Actually, no, he does. He ends up caring a little bit. Dooley kind of could be like, either he's incredibly emotional and like empathetic, or he's just completely cut off from reality and has no emotion about the situation. You really don't know what you're going to get with him. Although sometimes he has like, I feel like it's intentional. Like, he just doesn't care, and it's not really that he can't feel things. He just doesn't care in that moment until it affects him. I don't know. I'm making him sound like a terrible person, which, yeah, he could definitely be a bad person. But I like the game, so I'm going to pretend he's not. But yeah, so like Darkside Detective definitely plays really well into supernatural elements, and kind of making everyone seem so weird that the supernatural stuff isn't probably the weirdest part to all of it. Like, it's so casual in how weird everyone is. Like, in this scene right here, like, they're talking to this psychic, and she has like these followers, and they all wear these glass fishbowl like looking things over their heads to like represent her. And I just feel like that is so goofy and so weird. Like, it seems minimal, like it's not really that funny, or there's just not like, oh, that's not a big deal, but it is to me, in a sense that it's just like such a weird thing to add. Like, you didn't have to add that detail. And I feel like that's where Darkside Detective is really good. It's very intentional with its humor. It's just really confident in the stories that they're telling, and like the characters that they're not exploring per se, but presenting, where I just like, I'm not a comedy writer. I don't know how to make a scene funny and interesting at the same time. Like, I'm good at banter because I do it all the time in my real life. So I feel like I can write a scene where a character can banter a lot. And I feel like Darkside Detective reminds me how mysteries are really important in terms of characters. Like, you need to have people to bounce off of. You need to, like, you can't just, I mean, not that you can't, but for example, like Columbo. Columbo is really interesting, but he's more interesting when he's bouncing off of other people, like the killers, or like whoever the killer is, or other detectives, or the hot dog guy, or the dentist. Like, there's so many characters he has to bounce off of that really builds that personality, that idea of what Columbo is. And I feel like Darkside Detective definitely does the same thing, where they very much build off of, like, you get a better idea of who McQueen is and who like Dooley is based off of the people they're around. Like, in the second game, you learn a lot more about Dooley and McQueen. I think even you go to their like high school reunion or something, which says that they're not that old. They're probably in their 30s or something like that, which I don't know why I didn't remember that, but I'm pretty sure they're in their 30s and they mentioned it before. But Dooley was like well liked. Like, he was very friendly, and like a lot of the people who you interact with Dooley, like people around Dooley, like Dooley a lot. They really like his energy, they really appreciate his time. He's even like a troop master or something like that, but he's not really a good cop. Like, no one ever points out that Dooley's kind of incompetent and doesn't do his job well, but they really just like being around him. With McQueen, it's not the same thing. McQueen is actually competent at his job, but people don't like him that much. I guess because he's like very serious or stern, even though that's not really how it comes across to me. Like, I feel like McQueen is trying to be funny or tries to engage with people in his own way, but like people find him off-putting, and I just like, I just think it's unfair because he didn't do anything. He's very normal, really. He's very, very normal. And like a lot of the stuff he says makes a lot of sense. Like, I think he's just a straight man, and I do get that. But like in the context of his own world, I just don't see why he's not. Like, he's too odd for this world, even though everyone in this world is super odd. But, whatever. But yeah, it kind of made me it kind of made me think about how characters interact and like how important certain interactions are. Like, I don't want to say that you have to make a character super serious, but I also don't think that it's necessary to make your characters just have like fun all the time, like just always goofing around and not really saying or speaking to anything serious. And I think sometimes the way we characterize our characters don't have to be defined by just what they say, but sometimes how they interact with certain things. And I wasn't really thinking in that context when it came to my game. Like, I didn't think about that, despite it also being like kind of it's a murder mystery instead of like, well, I'm not to say that Touch Detective doesn't have any murder, but Darkside Detective, they have talked about murder, but they don't really solve murders per se. They just solve any weird case. But in the case of my own game, I definitely have thought about how like how these characters will interact, especially because it's an Otome game, and I was having a lot of difficulties around it because I didn't want to just stuff scenes with so much dialogue when there's like nothing really going on. And I understand that's what Otome games are like, but I kind of want it to be more than just two people talking in the same room. I want it to be a little bit more engaging, and I feel like a good way to do that is to have our characters engage with other people or other things in general and have their opinions about it. I think a good way of doing this is basically having the characters like walk around. Like, there's a scene that I wrote into my game where they're walking around the town trying to find things to do, and they're kind of just commenting on different things and experiencing different things, and I feel like it's very active. Like, before I felt like, oh, there's too much going on, but or there's not enough going on really. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on in the first like part of the script. So I think I'm on the right, like, I'm in the right place for these ideas, and I think I just need to like re-examine them and kind of see what I can pull out. But I think that Darkside Detective is a really good game, and if you really like supernatural games or like mystery point and click games, this is another great one. I wouldn't say it's like a cozy game in the same way that Touch Detective is, but it is a lot of fun, and if you want to have a good time, laugh a little bit, and like gradually solve these like more difficult cases or more difficult puzzles, I think Touch Detective is a good game for you. It wasn't that hard for me to beat the game, and I bought both games, and like I love them. I really love this series, so definitely check it out. Okay, so on to my last project that I've worked on recently that I have something to show for, basically. is working on Gumi. So if you don't know, Gumi is the avatar character that I use in a lot of my videos. You'll probably see her on the right side of my screen. And she has like these big like curls and these little elf shoes. She is not my persona. She's just a like a mascot character for my channel. I feel like I have never told or explained that, but she's not me. I don't really see myself as Gumi. I just really like drawing this character. I feel like she's like a little elf or fairy of my channel, and I just love drawing her. She's just so cute, and I made her originally for like this like monthly art challenge that I would do with my friends. And it was based off of something where you like make a character that has your name, your username, your favorite food or something like that. And basically her name derives from like cheesecake and black gummy. I don't know where I got the che from, but I think it's from the sound you get from cheesecake. I can't remember exactly how that went, but I remember recording it, and like it's probably somewhere in my channel, but I just can't remember it right now. But I just remember her name is Gumi, and I think that's what's important. Personality wise, like I didn't really I kind of see her as like kind of like a spoiled child in a way. They just very emotional and just like very impatient. But outside of that, like, I haven't really thought too much about her personality or anything. I just think she's cute, and that's really what's important to me. But in doing this piece, which is basically me making stickers of this character, I wanted to sell stickers of this character because I recognize that other people think this character is very cute, which, are they wrong? Not at all. They are very correct. She is adorable. And I feel like a good way to promote my channel and promote me is by making art that represents my channel as best as Gumi could, which is, you know, my YouTube channel's avatar. So I basically worked on different expressions that I picked up from a lot of different manga that I read, or just like looking over like certain characters I really liked in different series, like YouTube, not YouTube, but different cartoons and stuff that I liked. I really like making like crazy expressions, and I keep forgetting how much I enjoy this aspect of like character design. Like I love making those like wild expressions. There's something very enjoyable about having someone look at you and be like, ugh, is this you? Like it's funny to me. Like I feel like people who are good with facial expressions are just really good with like expressions in general, like character expression. And I do struggle with my characters feeling a bit too stiff, and I want to get better at that. It's just very hard. I end up taking a very literal or like slightly literal perspective on like character design, and I really, even with references, and I think references make it a little harder for me because I'm not good at like pushing my characters to the extreme. It's always kind of daintily or subtle in their like posing, which I feel like is why I'm not why my portfolio tends to like, even though I like being seen as a character designer, I feel like my portfolio could be better. I really want to have stronger work, and I feel like these type of little exercises, which is how I kind of view them, are really helpful to me becoming a better artist when it comes to like posing, because you do have to practice it. It's not going to come naturally. But I really enjoyed working on this. It really made me enjoy the character and like make me think more about her and her personality. A few of these drawings made me laugh, which is how I know I did a really good job. They're making me chuckle because I'm just like, what are these expressions, bro? Like, I think what I struggled a lot with was happy expressions. Oh my god, that was so freaking hard. I was struggling on happy expressions. It was so hard to find dynamic expressions when your character is happy or showing any type of like joy or anything like that, or even just like being content. It was really difficult for me to find an appropriate expression for that. I kind of just went for a more bold expression, you know, the typical like big mouths. I also try to do like a more cocky attitude or a cutesy attitude. You know, I tried to play around a little bit because I didn't want it just to be like negative expressions like frustration, disdain, anger. You know, although those expressions can be really good and like really give a lot of personality to a character, it shouldn't be the only expressions that your character has. There has to be moments where they're happy. They need to be like diverse in that way. But yeah, I really love doing these type of things. These are like my favorite way of like doing character design. I just wish I was better at it. I used to really struggle with the idea of being like bad at character design because I wanted to be an animator a lot, and I felt like my designs were just so bad. Like the drawings weren't good enough. That's why I would never get hired as a character designer. And I don't think it's necessarily that. I think I should push myself more when it comes to character design, because I think for the type of work that I wanted to do, I had to be more expressive, and I had to like do a lot of turnarounds and stuff like that, which I wasn't really that good at, and honestly still struggle with. I think I'm better at it now after practicing for so long, but like it's still really hard to do a really good turnaround for me. I want to say that I definitely have improved, but it's really hard to gauge things when I don't really have like a frame of reference from anyone personally to determine that. But yeah, I think I've improved a lot as an artist in terms of like doing character designs, and I think my work is a lot cleaner. And yeah, I will say I'm proud of my work. I am definitely actually proud of my work, and I think what I did here today, like with Chisegumi, not today, but like what I did with the work I did with this character and making like this kind of expression sheet where I will turn into stickers, is really fun and really cute, and I definitely would like to make more in the future. I just think this is such a fun exercise. I want to get better at it for sure. Okay, so the last game I will be talking about today is called The Golden Idol, or that's the shorthand name I'm giving it, but you can still find it by looking up the name Golden Idol. This game is wild. The way it guides you through this whole long story of death and betrayal, murder, and like just selfish, like greed. Like there's so much to this game that is so interesting and so fun, and I really encourage you, if you like word type games, because like this is really like a put the clues together, put in the words, like look at the clues, like all the clues are there for you. You're not really searching for anything, you're just looking at the information already presented to you, because you're more like a third person omniscient kind of being that is putting together this story. And every single story, like every single case, it's not even really a case by case thing. I think it's more like, well, whatever, let's say cases. Every single one of them, it just progressively gets crazier and crazier. Like you really don't know what to expect, especially at the end of the game. I just got so confused. I was like, I don't even know where to begin. Like this is getting way too complicated. I don't know how I'm going to like finish the ending, because I have no idea how this game ends, and that's mostly because I am struggling on that last part, and I want to take my time. I don't want to like have to cheat. And I will say that rarely have I had to go look for the answer. That was only as I got closer to the end, and it was only for very specific parts, not the whole thing, just certain parts of it. But I have genuinely been able to figure out a lot of these different cases, and it is a lot of fun. Like it is very challenging, but I enjoy it. Like this is the type of puzzle game that I like, and I really wouldn't even I could argue that it's probably not a puzzle game, but I really don't know how else to describe it, because it's basically like a word matching game. Like, you have to put the scene together through just observation, and like this man, I'm getting tongue tied, but like, what makes this game so fascinating to me is that it really heavily relies on interpretation. It expects it expects the player to piece everything together and figure it out for themselves. Like, there's such a heavy reliance on the player being able to understand what's going on, and that's because they put so many clues together. They really honed in on that. Like, these scenes are crazy. Like, when I saw this scene with the dude on fire, I was so I sat there for a bit, like, what even is going on right now? Like, who are these people? Why is this man on fire? Like, like, I was so confused, and only going through like the second time and to record everything did I really actually like, oh, okay, like, this game really takes you by surprise. Like, when I say things get pretty chaotic, it really does. Like, I'm only realizing on my second play how much more how better I can understand things compared to the first time I was playing for the first time. Like, oh my god, the first time it was just really like, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this game is wild. Like, I would play this for a really long time. It was so much fun, so much fun. I definitely recommend it. I won't spoil too much. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to tell you anything about the story. Just know that there is a golden idol, and it is passed down from generation to generation through some means, and it has caused havoc in this group of people who are constantly fighting for this golden idol. But anyways, what I liked about this game really was that it is a mystery game in a sense, but it has a clever way of presenting that information, presenting the mystery part. The mystery is you putting all the story together, putting all the pieces together and coming to a conclusion. It doesn't necessarily mean that you solved anything in terms of like fixing a problem, because I usually think when you're like reading, watching, playing any type of murder mystery or mystery game, is an expectation that you are solving a problem. And very rarely have I read stories where you don't actually solve anything. You may understand why things are happening, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can stop it from happening. And I think there is something really interesting about that, because there's a very real, like, that's very real, that's very tangible, that just because you know what's going on doesn't mean that you necessarily like fix the problem or that things will become better. It might not change at all despite you knowing things. And you see this in real life a lot with certain like cold cases and stuff. People know what's going on, but they don't say anything, or they tell people but no one else does anything with that information, and just like nothing gets done. So I think that's something very interesting about that. And I think in terms of my own story, like my own Otome game, that I feel like my plot isn't very like as concrete as I want it to be, as grounded as I want it to be. And I think that all these games I've talked about today have been their own flavor of like zany or just kind of off the wall. Like it makes sense for that world. It gets you involved in that world so much that you don't have to question the little small things. Like, yeah, it may not make so much sense, but if you're compelling enough, it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. And I feel like there's a good balance in that when it comes to mysteries or murder mysteries or whatever. Like, you have to have a good balance of like compellingness. Like, there needs to be a form of charisma with the story itself. And then what comes next is the characters. Like, the story can be compelling, but the characters need to be just as involved in that. And I think with the Golden Idol, granted, you don't personally interact with characters, you kind of just watch them from a third person perspective, but you do get attached to certain characters because they keep reappearing in the story, and you kind of like are seeing their downfall or the upwind of like where they become successful. Like, there's so much to it. I find this game to be really fun, and I think that people should definitely play this if you're really interested in these type of mysteries, like putting together a story. This is very fascinating to me. It's a very good game, and I think they're coming out with a second game soon. But yeah, I very much wish to have my own game be compelling. I want my story to be compelling, and I think that's where I was struggling with, because I kept trying to ground it in some very strong sense of reality when I don't need something to be realistic, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be really realistic. It just needs to be interesting enough to keep people's attention. And granted, I can't control that, and I think that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from. I think my game has an interesting premise, and I'm going to try my best to continue to make that story interesting. Of course, I'm not going to do like something, I'm going to try to avoid doing something crazy or off the wall, but I want you to enjoy playing the game. I want you to feel like you're getting invested into the characters and the story and the world itself. I want you to feel comfortable with that. So I will try. I'm gonna try my best, because this is the first time I've really done a project this big. But I feel like through playing all these games, I am getting a better idea of how I want my mystery to be solved. In a sense, my solving is like not in a direct sense the way that like Touch Detective is, or really Dark Side Detective, but I kind of want the story to unfold before you, the mystery to unfold before you, and you kind of interacting with different parts of it, not being totally engaged with it itself. I don't know if that's a good explanation, but we'll see. I'm gonna make some update videos after, basically in November. Like, I'll do some like time lapse and just kind of talk about the game again. And then I also wanted to do a live stream. I haven't done one this month in general, because there's just so much going on. Like, writing a grant is time consuming, trying to do the art competition was time consuming, and there's a bunch of other stuff happening in my personal life that has just been time consuming. But in terms of like going forward, I will try to do a time lapse before the end of this month. I'm not time lapse, sorry, a live stream before the end of this month. And I will also try to like do one of the Otome game, and also maybe do another one of Color and Malice. I don't really know if people really like those live streams or not, but I enjoy myself making them, so I'm gonna do it. And if I don't do it in October, I'll probably do it at the beginning of November. So just stay like around, or stick around for that. I feel like I always struggle with my words, and then I'd be doing these like, oh, I'm gonna do one take kind of thing. I don't do one take. It actually takes me multiple tries, but I still be like off the cuff. But anyways, yeah, so that's basically all I've been working on, and the ideas have been floating around my head, and the games I've been playing recently. You know, this is my last video that I'm making for this month, and that means this is the last time you'll see me until November. So thank you for watching. Happy Halloween, and I hope the best for all of you guys, and I hope you have a good Halloween and a good day. Thank you, and bye. From the sky, everything seems awkward to me. Nothing's just as it should be. If this keeps on, I'm sure I won't get by. But then I close my eyes and try to smile. I know things are bad and getting worse, but after all this I can rest a while, and then I'll party